American literary naturalism names a set of characteristics found in postbellum prose and fiction. The early 20th century critic V.L. Parrington called it a pessimistic realism with a philosophy that sets man in a mechanical world and conceives of him as victimized by that world. There are prefigurations of naturalism in mid-century texts, including Ralph Waldo Emerson's nature essays. Emerson prioritizes aesthetic experience, much like the naturalists, but where he finds a common divinity within everyone, these later authors find only a shared, brute animal nature. Work in this genre was influenced by the philosophy of Friedrich Nietzsche and the scientific description of an indifferent and chaotic world offered by Charles Darwin and the neo-Darwinian Herbert Spencer. Naturalist texts depict characters determined by what the critic Richard Chase termed a necessitarian ideology. Émile Zola, an important late 19th century French novelist, conceived of these aspects of naturalism as enabling him to construe his work as literary experiments. He called them experimental novels. By this, Zola meant that he wrote novels in order to observe how his characters responded to the different environments that he had imagined. In a 1936 essay titled Narrate or Describe, the Hungarian critic Georg Lukács produced an important schema that separated realism from naturalism based on the dominant narrative strategy. Lukács argues that realist novels narrate the content of the story, what Russian formalists have called the fabula, toward the conclusion of the text, from a voice removed from or above the action, while naturalist texts layer on heavy descriptions of characters and events from essentially the same perspective of the characters within the text. Like the images found in the photojournalist Jakob Ries's 1890 How the Other Half Lives, naturalist authors attempt to enter into the spaces that were previously ignored by high art, and from here they describe the conditions of an often urban and frequently impoverished population. In the 1980s, Walter Ben Michaels argued that this claustrophobic and description-heavy narrative form is an enclosed space governed by a market logic. Naturalist characters, Michaels argues, are caught up in an endless cycle of production and consumption. Jennifer Fleissner has recently argued with Lukács that naturalism has a compulsion to describe that results in a mode of narrative stuckness that is directed more towards completeness than fixity or stasis. She notes the numerous descriptions of ongoing, nonlinear, and repetitive behaviors within the naturalist text, as well as the text's own repetitions. More incisively, she calls her attention to the importance of women to what was formerly considered a hyper-masculine genre. Fleissner argues that this compulsive feminine temporality results from uncertainty over the status and future of women at the turn of the century. Classic American naturalist texts include Stephen Crane's The Red Badge of Courage, Kate Chopin's The Awakening, Frank Norris's McTeague, and Theodore Dreiser's Sister Carrie.